In the presence of death, let us not fear, for we share it with all who have ever been and all who will ever be. For it is only the dust which returns to the dust as it was, but the spirit returns to God who gave it, and in God's hand is the care of every soul. The world we inhabit is a corridor to the world beyond. Let us prepare ourselves in that corridor to enter God's presence, for God is our employer who knows our labor as well as our sorrow. Faithful is God to give us the reward of our good deeds. We redeemed from destruction and led in the way of everlasting life. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai Roi Lo Echsar, Benot Deshe Yar Bitzeni, Almei Menuchot Yenachaleni, Nafshi Shovev, Yancheni V'magle Tzedek Leman Shemo, Gam Ki Elech Begeit Salmavet, Lo Irara, Ki Ata Imadi, Shiftecha, Umishantecha, Hema Yenachamuni, Taroch Lefanai Shulchan, Neged Sorerai, Deshanta V'Shemen Roshi, Kosi Revaya, Ach Tov V'Chesed Yirdefuni, Kol Yemei Chayai, Vishavti B'Veit Adonai, Liorech Yamim. A Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. In green fields God lets me lie. By quiet streams God leads me. God restores my soul. God guides me in the paths of truth, for such is God's name. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are beside me. Your rod and staff, they comfort me. You spread a table before me in front of my enemies. You soothe my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy seek me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. We'll now hear from Brian.
Thank you. So thank you everyone for coming. It's wonderful to see all the family and friends. I counted approximately 40 people, so that's terrific. I'm going to take a little walk through Dad's life with some anecdotes along the way the best I can, and then we'll have other family members speak. So Dad was born in Toronto, Canada, child of immigrants from Ukraine, Sonia and Maurice Ostrow. He had one older brother, Lawrence. They lived in Canada. He lived in Canada for just a few years, and he came to New York City. They lived in the Bronx. So Dad always said that he grew up so poor that he and his brother had to share a single drawer with their clothes. He each had half a drawer. But he came out of that, and a determined man to not be poor. So he got an engineering degree from City College of New York, Harvard of the proletariat, he always said. So he said he went to Harvard of the proletariat. And then somewhere along the way, while he was working and studying and everything else, he met my mom. So Barbara Benjamin, Barbara Ostrow, Mom, Aunt Bobby, whatever you called her. So he met my mom, the love of his life. And they made a terrific life together until she passed away a few years ago. Raised children, 5 grandchildren, 1 great-grandchild, which my mom unfortunately never met. And, a wonderful life together with joy and love, and with all of you included in one way or the other. I had a lot of thoughts, I have to write it down. So, So let me talk about my mom and dad together first. So they, they were inseparable. It's really fascinating to look back at the pictures from them as young. They looked so hip and cool and young from the 70s, and it's like, my parents were never hip and cool and young, but they were. And then they would take us all on vacations and everything else, and then at the very end, when my mom was sick with Alzheimer's, he sat with her every day for hours, holding her hand when she didn't know. So that's the true mark of the love they had. I'm a little disordered. So he worked at NASA and RCA for many years, working on building satellite cameras and other electronics. One of my favorite things, when one of my boys, I don't remember which one, he went to a math education conference as a little boy to represent companies. They wanted demonstrators. They wanted kids who were going to play with the toys. So I was there, and I walked around, and I picked up a poster from NASA. NASA was there, and they had posters, and I brought it home. Said, Dad worked at NASA. We mounted it on the wall, and we put it in Ben's room. Dad walked in and looked at it and said, "You see that? That's the one I built." So he was, a very smart, talented man. He loved his family. He loved his children, grandchildren. In the very last year of his life, he lived with Mike and Rebecca in Annapolis. And I will be forever grateful to them for that. And he got a chance to really connect, especially with Haley, who is just coincidentally walking out now. So, Haley was like the brightest light of his life. So I would call him on the phone, and Haley and Joe and Rachel would walk in, and Dad would say, "I gotta go, Haley's here." So he always wanted to talk to Haley, play with Haley, so that was joyful for him. He was a model of good aging. So up until the week before he died, he was driving and walking and going out to dinner, and he was all there, and I guess things happen and he didn't make it. But I'm happy to say that along with Mitchell, we were in the room with him when he breathed his last. So I'm very thankful for that, and I'm thankful for him. I'm thankful for the life he made for me, for us, for the family, and we're all going to miss him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. I was remarking to the family, apropos Haley being taken out. So I was remarking to the family that as a pulpit rabbi, one time I'm giving a sermon, and I'm trying to be impassioned, and a baby starts crying. And the mother takes the baby and starts walking out of the synagogue. And so I interrupt myself, and I said, "He isn't bothering me." And she turns around and says, "No, but you're bothering him." There we are. But we're glad to see Haley. Hi, Haley. Hi. Hi, sweet great-granddaughter. Great-granddaughter. Now we're going to hear from Mike.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. Our old friends, new friends, family from a long time ago, I gotta say, Dad would love part of this. He loves everybody being together. He loves his family being around him and his our friends, not his friends. He didn't have many friends, but I'll talk about that in a minute. But this part of everybody making him the center of attention, he would not have liked. So this is actually fairly typical of a lot of our gatherings where we all interact with each other and share stories and play and do all kinds of stuff. And Dad sort of sat to the side and watched and took it all in. So he definitely was a family guy, and he loved his family. But what's interesting is he loved everybody, he was so proud of everybody, but he would never tell them directly. Like, I know he loved me. He never told me, but he might tell Brian how much he was proud of me and what I was doing. And I would hear from other people periodically throughout my life, oh, your dad really loves it. You're playing music and he's so proud of your music career. And all I remember is, actually, we went to my first guitar lessons not far from here, and he always used to make me feel like it was a bunch of wasted time and nonsense and I should get serious about my life. But then I find out he loved it. He loved that I was doing that, and it was kind of a fascinating dynamic. So he was definitely a family guy, didn't share a lot of his feelings, but he was the first one to step up and take care of anyone who needed taking care of. I hear stories about how some family members might have needed some financial support. He did it. He didn't tell anybody. We don't know anything about it. We hear about it again. We hear about it later. He didn't make a big deal out of it. He didn't want anybody paying attention to him. The thing about the friends was not meant to be a slight against him. It's just he was a self-declared introvert. When he first moved in with us in Annapolis, we invited him to game night with some of our boisterous friends in the back there. And he went exactly one time. And from that point forward, declared himself an introvert. He did it once, that was enough. He's not going to do it anymore. So that's kind of how he was. He was just a real quiet guy who did a lot of good for a lot. He did a lot of good for a lot of people. And even living with us, he was so quiet. He didn't want to be a burden. He tried to stay out of the way. Part of the reason I think he went for drives and went to the mall every day, he claims, was to get his steps in and exercise. But I think it's because he just was really conscious and aware of not wanting to be a burden to anyone ever. And so that's how he lived, and that's how he died, really. He declared that he never, ever wanted to be in a nursing home, that he never wanted us to have to come and visit him anywhere, and never wanted to take care of him. What's interesting is when he was in the hospital, we had to find his advance directive because things took a bad turn and it happened kind of fast. And he had locked everything up in his safe, and we couldn't get in. So Rebecca was home, called a locksmith. They came out, smashed it, and we found everything. So that was the good part. But in the process, we had to go through a lot of the stuff in his room. And I found a pile. Again, this is going back to he was very proud of everyone. We found a pile of business cards from every one of the kids. He had Rachel's PA cards. He had every one of Rebecca's business cards from when she was a dietitian, all of my business cards from various points in my career. And he kept all those things because he was so proud of what everybody had done. But what was interesting is I found in that exact pile a poem. I never thought of my dad, an engineer, a scientist, never thought of him as having a poem that he would have liked. But this little tiny wrinkled up poem he kept, and I suppose it meant something to him. And he might have checked in with it every now and then, so I'm going to share it. And it seems appropriate for maybe how life turned out for him. It's by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and it says, "To laugh often and love much, to win the respect of intelligent persons and the affection of children, to earn the approbation of honest critics and to endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to give of oneself, to leave the world a better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition, to have played and laughed with enthusiasm and sung with exultation, to know that even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded." We're going to miss him. We're going to miss him a lot, especially when all this dies down and you guys go home. Going to be quiet without Dad around. Thank you all.
You know, Mike, you were mentioning your father's an introvert. Let me tell you something about introverts. Some people think an introvert is somebody who doesn't like people. That's not true. Not true. Usually the exact opposite is around. An introvert could really love people. In fact, an introvert could like being in crowds, and an introvert can like being the center of attention. It's all true. It's all true. It's just that an introvert also enjoys their own company and needs to recover when being around people. But I can tell that Harvey, although I didn't know him, was a very special person and was a person who loved others. I feel so much love in this room, so much love. And Mike, you know, the tears started welling near the end when you were reading that Ralph Waldo Emerson quotation. And, you know, I can tell that you're smart people, because when people get up and speak, family and friends, more often than not, they start to cry. They're fighting tears. And what do you think they always say when they start crying? Sorry. You know, you don't have to be sorry to cry at a funeral. You really don't. If you're not going to cry at a funeral, when are you going to cry? What are tears? Tears are a sign of grief. What is grief? Grief is love not wanting to let go. And what I want to tell you is love doesn't have to let go. And we'll talk about that more a little bit later. And now we're going to hear from Rebecca. Can everybody hear? Okay. All right, good. Nice and loud.
Thank you all for showing up today for our family. You are my tribe, my people, and I love you. Harvey didn't like to be the center of attention, but I think he would understand how important it is for us to honor him today. I'm going to talk today about what we call Ostrow Day. What is Ostrow Day? It is June 4th. Why is June 4th so important? June 4th, 1932 is when Harvey was born. June 4th, 1989 is when Michael and I were married. June 4th, 2002 was Harvey's 70th birthday. June 4th, 2022, Rachel and Joseph were married. June 4th, 2025 is when Harvey turned 93. Of these 5 special days, I'd like to concentrate on 2 of them. I would like to circle back to 2002. Is that how you say it? 2002. I can't even figure that out. On Harvey's 70th birthday, because he didn't want to be the big center of attention, even though I wanted to throw him a party, he didn't want to have a party. So instead, Rachel and I created this scrapbook, and many of you contributed your love letters, your drawings, your poems, tons and tons of photos of family are all in here, and I encourage you to take a look at it because I feel like this was the way that Harvey could really digest how much we love him without him having to be the center of a party. So I encouraged so many people to write letters to him, and they're in here, and many of those people have passed away, but the love that he had is incredibly palpable. It's palpable here in the room, it was palpable when he was 70, and it was palpable up until his last breath. I'd like to read what I wrote to him in the scrapbook. It was the first time that I called him Dad. I said, "Dear Harvey," or more appropriately, Dad, "I want you to know why I decided to put together the scrapbook for you. In the past, I've rushed through the day without much thought or appreciation for the gifts that I have in my life. I consider you to be one of the gifts in my life. I do not want your 70th birthday to pass without being clear with you about my feelings for you. I hope this scrapbook conveys that you are loved by many people, including me. I want you to know how much your consistent presence in my life has meant to me. As you know, I come from a very broken family. Before I met Mike, I had very little experience with consistent thoughtfulness, kindness, love, caring, inclusiveness, commitment, and tradition. I did not know the importance of family, and I certainly did not know that being accepted into a family was a possibility for me. I know that I must have been a challenge bringing all my brokenness and even Christianity into your family. Now, after being in your family for the past 13 years, I want you to know that I feel loved and accepted by you. I feel so blessed to have you and Bobby as my in-laws. I now feel a strong sense of well-being that I have never felt before. I believe that you have contributed to my sense of well-being, and I am glad to be a member of your family. I am very grateful to you and Bobby for always being there for me, Mike, and Rachel. I am still amazed that you will drop all of your plans so cooperatively whenever we need you. In addition to saving the day during our sometimes entirely too hectic lifestyles, I have so many precious memories of you, as these photos show, sharing so many day-to-day experiences with us, and so many special experiences, including trips to the zoo, Hanukkahs, Passovers, Thanksgivings, events at Rachel's school, etc. We've shared quite a history with each other, and I look forward to our future experiences. I feel so supported by you. Mostly, I want you to know that my heart is filled with so much love and warmth for you when I see the way you adore Rachel. My heart melts when I see how overjoyed both of you are whenever you interact with her. Rachel has such a sense of completeness and confidence that I'm sure is fostered by your unconditional love of her. I am so glad that you both openly adore her. Rachel is incredibly lucky to have warm, loving grandparents who give her the kind of love and attention we all long for. Rachel will have millions of treasured memories of you that will help her through whatever hardship she encounters in her life. Thank you and Bobby for making me feel special, loved, and so well cared for. Thank you for being wonderful parents to me and extraordinary grandparents to Rachel. Harvey, I hope you have a fantastic birthday. I love you dearly. Your daughter, Rebecca. Which brings us to his last birthday, June 4th, 2025. We went to Miss Shirley's restaurant. As many of you know, when Harvey started living with us, we counted all the new restaurants we went to. We went to 54 restaurants, different restaurants, in 50 in Annapolis, and 4 we had already been to in Phoenix. He loved going out to eat, and he loved the special time for us. So on his birthday, we went to restaurant number 40, and he loved to always ask, Rebecca, what restaurant number are we on? And that was 40. We started the day with breakfast at Miss Shirley's and ended the day with a great big chocolate cake and ice cream, another one of his favorites. So what I would like to have all of us do is let's focus on June 4th and honor how he lived and how he loved. Help us keep the love of him alive the way he chose to love each of us. Thank you, Harvey, for leading with love. We miss you.
Thank you. And now we'll hear from Rachel.
You want to come in?
It's okay. Haley, come.
Here, Bubba. Okay. Thank you all for coming. It really means so much to us to have you all here. My name's Rachel, and Harvey was my grandpa. I know my dad was talking about things of his that we found this week. One of the forms we found where my grandpa was talking about his last moments and how he wanted to be remembered, he wrote down, I believe that I have been a good husband, father, and grandfather, also a good provider. Most important, we raised 3 wonderful sons. Grandpa loved his family more than anything. I think that's been said again and again. He looked forward to every family gathering and every update from family members. At 93, he was a proficient texter and emoji user, so he could have frequent check-ins with all of his grandchildren. He spent lots of time bragging about his brilliant sons and all of his brilliant grandchildren. His favorite pastime was looking through his countless family photos and sharing family memories. While he was in the hospital this week, he had very few moments of alertness, but in one of those few moments, he demanded his cell phone so that he could show his nurse a picture of his great-granddaughter. I was so lucky to have an incredible relationship with my grandpa. I was even luckier that he recently became my next-door neighbor. This past month, I got to see my grandpa every day and see his relationship with his great-granddaughter blossom. I wish this time could have been longer, but it's something I will always cherish. I will miss his warm hugs, his dumb dad jokes, and jokes about palindromes and onomatopoeia that I never really understood. Like my mom said, very few people in life will love you unconditionally, but I always knew my grandpa loved me and would always be there for me. He supported me in so many ways growing up, and I wouldn't be who I am today without his unwavering love and support, and I will miss him.
We gather today with heavy hearts to remember and to honor the life of Harvey Ostrow, who passed away at age 93 and a half. A devoted husband, a loving father, an accomplished engineer, and a cherished friend. His life was a testament to resilience, to intellect, and unwavering love for his family. As mentioned, he was born in Toronto, but moved to the Bronx as a young child, where he grew up in modest circumstances. And from these humble beginnings, he forged a path of achievement and integrity. He graduated from high school and went on and got both a bachelor's and a master's degree in engineering from CCNY. It was mentioned was the poor man's Harvard, and it really was. And it was a source of immense pride for him and for his family. His academic accomplishments were not just personal milestones, they were symbols of perseverance and fulfillment of the American dream. He dedicated much of his life working at the Goddard Space Flight Center of NASA and contributed to the advancement of space exploration and technology. His brilliance in electronics was evidenced not only in his career but also in his hobbies. He wasn't just simply content to use appliances. He wasn't just an appliance user. He built the appliances, often assembling Heath kits and immersing himself in audio technology and as a ham radio operator, a passion that began when he was much younger, when he was a Morse code operator. And I want to say something, I want to share something. I also am a ham operator, please. I know, kosher ham, I heard the joke before. In 50 years as a ham, I've heard that one. But I'll say more about ham Morse operators. They're a very special group because as a ham operator, most people use radio telephone, where they talk on the air, but you can also use digital modes where it's computer to computer and amateur television, and in recent decades, satellites. We use satellites, and most of the astronauts are ham operators and talk to terrestrial hams. A lot of fun. It's something very special for the way that it began, Morse code. But I want to say that for all of his professional and his intellectual pursuits, his greatest devotion was to his family, He was a loving husband to Barbara, his beloved wife, who we laid to rest in 2019, and together they traveled the world. I heard 41 countries at last count. From the icy landscapes of Antarctica to the vibrant cultures of India and China and the Galapagos Islands. And their shared interest is also a reflection of their curiosity, their love of learning, and a zest for life. He was a proud father of 3 sons, Michael and Brian and the late Todd. And he took immense pride in their accomplishments and cherished every moment spent with them. The loss of Todd, Brian's identical twin, was a profound source of sorrow that Harvey carried with him with quiet strength and deep love. His resilience in the face of tragedy was a testament to his character and his enduring commitment to his family. But even in later years, he remained engaged and remained curious. He embraced technology. He had a Facebook account, and he meticulously organized his travel photos on Google, showing that age was never a barrier to learning and adapting. And I know a lot of engineering types, people really brilliant engineering, and there's something to be said that I've noticed that even with all of their talent in tech, that when it comes to computer technology and the like, sometimes, as they get older, it's still hard for them too. It sounds to me like Harvey was not the case, and it's proof in point that he was able to keep up with it and was computer savvy, the latest technology. So his life was one of purpose. It was a life of love and legacy. He leaves behind a family that reflects his values, the intelligence that he had, keen intelligence, kindness, and perseverance. And his memory will live on in the stories that are shared, lessons that he taught, and the love that he gave so freely. And when you get to be 93, you lose most of your contemporaries. I don't think there are a lot of people here who are 93. I often tell a story about I met a man who was still bicycling in his 80s, and I said, Mr. Goldfarb, how wonderful to be 93 and still riding a bicycle. I thought I said something nice. He said, "Yeah, all my friends are dead." Well, when you get up there in years, it is true, you start losing contemporaries. But Harvey was loved. He might have lost a lot of friends, but he had a lot of friends. You were his friends. And everybody is here not only for him, but also to be supportive of the family and how important that is. And so as we say goodbye, we remember the words of the book of Proverbs. The memory of the righteous shall be a blessing. And Harvey's memory is indeed a blessing to all who knew him. I want to share a little bit about the ham radio angle. Ham operator to ham operator. It's all about communications and in sending Morse. It's the original texting. And if I wrote out to you what we were actually saying, even if you don't understand Morse, and showed you what I just sent out or received, you wouldn't understand that either, because it's like texting. There are abbreviations, and there are cue codes, and there are all kinds of procedures which would be hard to understand for the uninitiated. And I remember years ago, I used to go to the Goddard Space Flight Center, and there I would volunteer to staff the space shuttle retransmissions, a voluntary thing. You didn't think rabbis do things like that, do you? But I used to do that, and I used to go to their ham radio station, WA3NAN. I remember the call sign, WA3NAN. I want to tell you that when a ham operator completes a conversation, a QSO we call it, there is a procedure. You send the other person's call sign, then DE, meaning from, then your own call sign, and when you're closing down, you send the Morse character SK, da-da-da-da-da-da, means they're finished. SK is also an abbreviation that's used among ham operators to refer to a silent key, which is what we call a deceased ham radio operator. I think it was Newton, you'll correct me, who said that energy can never be created or destroyed. Energy can never be created or destroyed. I take solace knowing that those happy QSOs, those conversations that he had, which we Morse operators have with people all over the world, are still reverberating somewhere up there in the ether. The energy that he created, yes, he created energy, so it seems, and that he transmitted and that he shared, the messages of love and support are still there. They're still there. And even the biggest skeptic and science type can't deny the reality of that sort of immortality. Da-da-da, da-da, da-da-da, da-da, 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 da-da-da-da, da-da-da. WA3NAN, DENI3F, da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da, SK. Now we continue. Ata gibor leolam Adonai mechaye metim ata rav lahoshia. Mechakel chayim bechesed mechaye metim berachamim rabim somech noflim v'rofeh cholim umatir asurim umekayem emunato lishenei afar mi chamocha Ba'al gvurot umidomelach melech meimit umechayeh umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'eman atala hachayot meitim. You, O Lord, are the endless power that renews life beyond death. You are the greatness that saves. You care for the living with love. You renew life beyond death with unending mercy. You support the falling and heal the sick. You free prisoners and keep faith with those who sleep in the dust. Who can perform such mighty deeds, and who can compare with you, a king who brings death and life and renews salvation? You are faithful to renew life beyond death. At this time, we rise for the El Mole Rachamim Memorial Prayer. El Mole Rachamim Shochin Bamromim Hamnetzeh Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Shechina B'ma'alot Kedoshim Tahorim Kazor Akia Masirim Et Nishmat Herschel Ben Moshe V'Sara Shalach Lo Lamo B'Gan Eden Tehei Menuchato Ana Bala Rachamim Hastarehu Beseter Kanfecha Liolamim Uvitzror Betzror Chayim Et Nishmato Adonai Hu Nachlato Yanuach B'Shalom Al Mishkovo V'Nomar Amen. O God exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Herschel Ben Moshe V'Sara, Harvey Ostrow, who has gone to his eternal home, Master of Mercy. We beseech you to remember all of the worthy and righteous deeds that he performed in the land of the living. May his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. The Lord is his portion. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we will be proceeding to the grave area, which is here, of course, on the grounds of Judaic Memorial Gardens. Those of you who are able to stay and join us, after we bring Mr. Ostrow out, please return to your cars as quickly as possible. We are not going in formal procession. However, the cemetery is not so large that you will see exactly where the hearse goes, and please follow along. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, would the pallbearers please come forward? Ladies and gentlemen, after the interment, everyone is invited by the family to accompany them to Grill Marks, which is a restaurant just right up the road here in the Olney Town Center Shopping Center.
El Mole Rachamim Shochin Bamromim Hamnetzeh Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Shechina B'ma'alot Kedoshim Tahorim Kazor Akia Masirim Et Nishmat Herschel Ben Moshe V'Sara Shalach Lo Lamo B'Gan Eden Tehei Menuchato Ana Bala Rachamim Hastarehu Beseter Kanfecha Liolamim Uvitzror Betzror Chayim Et Nishmato Adonai Hu Nachlato Yanuach B'Shalom Al Mishkovo V'Nomar Amen. O God exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Herschel Ben Moshe V'Sara, Harvey Ostrow, who has gone to his eternal home, Master of Mercy. We beseech you to remember all of the worthy and righteous deeds that he performed in the land of the living. May his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. The Lord is his portion. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen.